Hey guys, it's Angel. Welcome back to the channel. We're here at Darrington Municipal, the Orbex Airport, with the Howard Hughes XF11. Now this is by Flying Fries, the guy who brought you the amazing Scrapyard Monster bush plane. You know, the one made from a pickup truck, vending machines, a samurai sword, several bicycles, a ladder, and some glue. Well, here we are with a very fast, very unusual prototype that never actually saw combat. Of course, it was designed to be a recon aircraft for the US Army Air Corps. It only ever saw two versions built that flew, one of which Hughes himself crashed into Beverly Hills after a engine failure led to one of the counter-rotating props reversing pitch, leading to huge drag. Well, it couldn't maintain altitude, crashed trying to make a landing on the LA County golf course. So, of course, it had a huge amount of controversy after the war, just like the Hercules did. The Hughes H4? Yes, the H4, sorry. Well, exactly the same way, it had an issue with who had tickled who to appropriate a contract. In that lovely political way. Oh boy, that was fun. Well, the aircraft itself is powered by a pair of Pratt & Whitney engines here. Those are going to be the 4360s, I believe. The Wasp Majors, 28 cylinders and 3,000 horsepower aside, with 8-bladed Hamilton Standard Hydromatic contra-rotating propellers. So it's 4 on each hub, and there are 8 on each side. Mucho Grabo Aero. Looking at about 390 knots at altitude, nearly 400 times. Service ceiling of 42,000 feet. So she's big and she's fast, which for a recon aircraft is very useful. What do we get? Well, we get a bunch of liveries. We get engines, gear bays, cockpit decks, fully modelled and textured. CFD flight model, era correct autopilot, random failures and options to control those. Support for Garmin 530 and or the 750 by PMS if you want to. Configuration on clipboard, we have complex electrical and fuel systems, we have variable pitch props with feathering and reverse pitch, engine vibration which is controllable, dimmable cockpit lighting, interactive static elements, liveries, LODs for multiplayer, custom sound effects, custom visual effects, checklists, manuals, and hidden Easter eggs. Well, without further ado, let's take a look. This is the Hollywood skin, which is... I will just make sure everything's shut off there. Find my controller, which I should have picked up a moment ago. There we go. Nice and slow. So modelling-wise, done very nicely, of course. It's a prototype, of course, and there's not a huge amount of data for this one. He's pieced this together from reference images, whatever data he could scrape from the internet and from libraries. So it's the best approximation we're going to get of an aircraft that really never actually saw the light of day outside 2 test vehicles. Those engines are insane. She looks a lot like a Lightning, but bigger and faster. Almost twice the size, nearly. And the scale of this thing. It is like a blown-up Lightning. But that variety is very, very narrow. In fact, we've got the observer station up front here. Which, surprisingly enough, that camera is actually see-through. Which is kind of cool. So you know exactly what the camera port is. It's right here. You can see all the way through that. Which is neat. And we have back here. Oh, what's this? Merci beaucoup to many of you, but especially the legendary people who helped me make this great aircraft. Steiny, Sword, Rob77, Bussex TV, and 1L2P. There you go. Good group of guys. Little Easter egg there of see you at Flight Sim Expo. Vegas 2024. Sounds fun. Oh, a good tea mug. Necessary, of course, to have there. Flying Fries special tea mug. I wouldn't put it next to my feet, but my feet do appear to be going through the pedals. That could be the pilots I'm using, though. There's every chance of that. I'm using the slightly animatronic-looking animated pilots from Golden Age Studios that I got from the Stearman. I like those. So pressurization system here. An axe there. Floor hatch here. This obviously folds up and down, so you can get in and out. Or this metal structure here, because you'll climb up from down here. You'll notice if we go down to here, we can and should be able to. I think I need to go to cockpit mode for that first, but let me just quickly find this that I spotted here a second ago. We've got old Howard Hughes himself there. At the access hatch. Here's a lot of our engine fuel valves, which would be awkward as heck to reach and actually operate. That sounds like fun, doesn't it? God, I'd love to climb down here in mid-flight and fiddle with things, wouldn't you? Oh, stuff that. Okay, so we have our rear seat here. We have some maps. We have recording equipment. Circuit breakers there. And we have a navigation tool, I believe. That's possibly a sextant of some kind. I could be entirely wrong, but it's plausible. Huge canopy. The bubble is huge. That's honestly an amazing view from this aircraft. I look forward to trying that. So let's get ourselves into the cockpit proper here. How have I screwed this up? Okay, we're in this mode now. So if I go to here, we're in the cockpit. Wonderful. So we have our static element control down here, including making the GPU appear, which is down there. Now, here's the fun part. If I go down here, out of the aircraft, I can click on the chocks and pull them. And if I wanted to, I could actually click on my GPU plug here and pull that out too. And close the box. That is neat, huh? Okay, let's go through our abridged startup checklist I have from Senor Fries. So down here we will go to battery to on. So down here, of course, we have in the cockpit, just running through these, we have static item control on the top, autopilot here, electrical, fuel. We have engines and props there, trim. We have lights. We have landing gear, and we have doors. Okay, so when the battery is on, we are able to control the access door, which is going to fold the ladder up and pull that up from underneath. And you'll notice at the back there, we have a storage hatch that can be opened on this side and closed as well. So we've got that right there. So battery on, nav lights are on. They're on. Fuel selectors needs to be set to left, to right, to tail, to closed. Right and left pumps need to be on, center off. This is standard configuration. Magnetos to both, on both sides. Both mixtures to full rich. Props down here to full fine. Crack throttles, because if we pull back behind my stop, it enters them into beta. See there? You don't want to be doing that. So I need to pull them forward to actually bring them out of that so we don't have the huge drag from it. There. No problem. And we hold the primer down here. I'll pull this back so we can actually see. 1 and 2 and... Nice animations. And I've screwed something up. Nope. Did it start? It's like it wanted to, but then didn't. We'll try for right. 1 and 2 and... Bit of gas. No. Interesting. What have I done? What have I done wrong this time? Because I worked before, and all of a sudden, as soon as I go to record, oh, hang on, hold the phone. Whilst I turned the mags on here, I hadn't turned it on my actual flight controls. So, if I go 1 and 2 and there we go. Yeah, cross-controlled. Nice and simple, easily fixed, and it's not me being incompetent for once. It's just me being incompetent. Nice. Okay, those engines are running. So alternators and avionics coming on. Of course, we have our GPS on there because I chose to have it. But if we get rid of it, we go to others. We can go to here. We can turn it off and have regular steam instruments for the period look. Or if we want to have it on, we can equip it there. We can choose our vibrations of instruments and needles. I'm going to keep mine as high. Let's go a little bit retro. We're going to go to miles an hour here on our speed. If I look at my reference speeds, these are... I believe miles an hour. I hope they're miles an hour. It doesn't say. The reference speeds in the actual guide do not specify unit. I'm going to assume he meant knots, although there'd be miles an hour from the period. So we'll stick with miles an hour. We'll go with that. So we have our speeds down here. Oh, they're in knots. Okay. Yep, they're in knots. So we'll have to switch back to others to knots. Just so I don't do a dumbass. Which is entirely plausible. We can select failures from these areas. And we can uncheck that as well. No, go away. Stop being others. And we can also go to fuel, and we can configure this here as well. You know what? Wait, how do I attach drop tanks? Did I already attach drop tanks? I did not attach drop tanks. I want to attach drop tanks. I think I need to have the engines off to do that. I do. Yeah. Well, the engines are on, so we can't do that. But I'll just quickly make sure this is set to the right page. Okay. And of course, it hasn't actually decided to go where it wants to. So we're going to have to do that now. Oh. Because you know exactly where we're going, right? We're going to Orcas Island. So we have to go to KORS. Kilo Oscar Romeo Sierra. You didn't think I was starting out somewhere else and not ending up at Orcas? Ah. So naive. So naive. Roll this down to here. Orcas Island. Bingo bango. Boom. Right, let's get ourselves out of here at Darrington. Okay, parking brake has been released. Head is switched on. We are very big for this airfield, so we're going to do our best here to try and be kind to the tarmac. I will say visibility is very easy with this aircraft because she's very big. So we can see quite a lot going on here. There we go. More angle back towards the taxiway. Just a size comparison here for a second. This is how big we are. We don't actually fit on the taxiway here at Darrington. We are too large for this. Should have thought about this ahead of time. But it's a big aircraft. And shouldn't be a long flight. Or maybe 15 minutes just to get us over there to Orcas. So it should give us a good feel of this thing stretching its legs. Because being a photo reconnaissance plane, she's fast. It just doesn't feel like the kind of plane I should be test flying with a couple of circuits and a pattern, you know? Feels entirely wrong. So, one notch flaps. Let's get ourselves turned here. This bubble canopy is disconcerting, but massive. Visibility is basically F-16 levels. Everything, and it's kind of before his time. You know, it's not for many years after the 40s till we got canopies like this for aircraft. You know, this is still the same era where the P-51's canopy, which was half like this, existed. The back half, and the front half, of course, framed. So having an entirely bubble canopy, still not super common. There we go. Let's go exterior here for you. Pull the gear. Pull the flaps. Of course, we have flaps in that center section as well. Here and there. This thing is an absolute missile. I'm going to pull the power here. We are still accelerating, we're still going up. My god. Woo! This thing is going somewhere. Okay, pull that out. Set the RPM where we want it to be. Well, that's where we just took off from. I hope you're happy. Because this is the climb from a 180 circuit out of departure from Darrington. Down there. Oh my gosh. We're already at 4,000 feet. Yeah! Okay. Mountains are not going to be any sort of problem for us today. Let's give it a little bit of trim here. Keep the nose down. Something a little bit more positive. Head through this cloud. Engines are... wow. The sounds, I will say, are really lovely on the exterior. The interior a little bit quieter, but it is a fully sealed cockpit, so there's some chance it will be quieter. I do also have my volume down somewhat, but it's... they sound good. They sound meaty. I will give it that. Okay. Turning on course here. It is absolutely effortless in its performance. And in terms of a touring aircraft, this would make a great one. If it wasn't so big, I'd love it for that purpose because you could see so much. But you have to realise that she's a huge aircraft. Just to give you a quick size comparison, I'm just going to look something up out of interest. The A-26 Invader was by Douglas. Now, the A-26 Invader, looking at the numbers, she was a wingspan of 70 feet, height of 18 feet. So, 50, 70, and... Oh, that's a mountain. That's a mountain. Turn head off so we can stay facing one direction. So, length 50, wingspan 50. Oh, 70, sorry. X... Of course, it's time to pull this one off. XF-11. The Hughes XF-11 is 65 feet in length, so she's longer than an A-26 Invader. Wingspan 101 feet compared to the 70 of an A-26. Let's just scale this up a second. B-17, Flying Fortress. Specifications B-17G. Length 74 feet, so she's 9 feet shorter than a B-17. With a wingspan only 2 feet smaller. 101 feet for a B-17. 103 feet, sorry. 101 for the XF-11. The height of the XF-11 is not listed. But that is insane. She is basically 10 feet shorter than a B-17 here. And the wingspan is almost the same. That is kind of crazy, if you think about it. Actually, very crazy. The more you know. Okay, head switched on. Brain engaged. We're flying, of course, so we'll turn here. And she's very maneuverable. So these two huge engines definitely providing a lot of power and performance. In fact, right now we are doing... hide the yoke there for simplicity. 311 knots ground speed. Indicated we are doing 280. So we're absolutely moving here. This will not take us long at all. We should be heading roughly kind of northwest. And it will take us out towards AUKUS. Shouldn't be a long journey in the slightest. But absolutely moving. And I can tell it'd be a wonderful aircraft for recon. Let's get ourselves stabilised here. I want to quickly look down here at the autopilot. So we have our heading hold. We have altitude hold. We have pitch hold. We have bank hold. We have AP master. So we'll get ourselves on course and we'll set those and we'll go climb into the nose and see what it looks like, shall we? So we'll just roll us over here. Where's my heading bug? Okay, we're basically on course here, so we'll straighten ourselves out there. We'll set this to on the nose, and then we're going to set these. So that should give us a heading and altitude hold. It does. Wonderful. Let's go climbing, shall we? Oh, there we go. So here's the seat in the nose. Ah, there's our camera. Can I actually get us down inside that? I can. That would be the camera's view, which is kind of neat, and we're not that high up, so that's not bad. It'd be neat if it actually had a reticle down there, but yeah, I'll take it as an unintended feature. Let's go to the actual nose itself here. Now that is a view from an aircraft, I've got to say. That is a view. There's a mirror there for technically looking down, but that is cool. Definitely good for observation, I'll give it that. You can see a lot from down here. Back up into the cockpit. And we're deviating our course slightly, so we'll just vary that back here. Is it actually going to turn me? It appears to not want to turn, even though we have heading hold on. That's our pitch control there. Are you planning to turn? It's not planning to turn. We'll get the autopilot off and we'll worry about that another time. But the coast is coming up here. Let's get my brain switched back on again. And we shouldn't be too far away from AUKUS. It's not far from the coast. We should have enough room to land there, though. A bit bigger. Beautifully manoeuvrable. A really enjoyable aircraft to fly. There's so much going on as well. Of course, you saw the fuel dials down in the cockpit, in the belly, sorry. We have our recognition lights here for flight. We have our pressurization settings here. I believe I can even click the axe. To do with it, I don't know. But it is in fact an axe. I'm pretty sure Howard Hughes dug himself out of the one he crashed with the axe, so maybe that's why you can click it. Up there we have our fuel tank low warnings. What are we at currently? We are at about 8,000 feet. Let's do a test. Let's apply some power here and go up, shall we? She's climbing like a missile, which I wouldn't expect much less from having 3,000 horsepower aside, and this many propellers grabbing the air. That is a lot of prop. Will certainly do its job very nicely. Now, just how maneuverable is she? So we pass through, approaching 11,000 feet here. Can I... She's very slow to roll. No, she doesn't want to roll at all. Not intended or desiring that whatsoever. Like I said, this is not the finished version of the aircraft. There will be changes happening, but I want to see what happens if I pull back on the power. And I go to my beta range, essentially. Not full reverse, but beta. Oh, that speed has dropped off. It's like having a pair of anchors attached to the front of the plane. Wow. And we are descending very steeply here with those props in beta. Let's get them out of that, shall we? There we go. Pull the nose up here. Build some speed. And we can turn her back on course. But wow, if you want to go down, this thing will go down in a heartbeat. Okay, AUKUS should be just over there. And at the speed we're doing, that should not take us long at all. And getting down won't be hard with these props. So we should be just fine. I've got to say, I feel warm being in this much of a greenhouse. Being up here above everything and completely exposed to the world. It certainly feels big. And I've got to say, just like the scrapyard plane, the cockpit texturing is lovely in this. It's exactly what's needed and necessary. Clickability, playability, usability is good. Realism functions are good. Obviously, I can't compare, or I have no expertise in military aircraft to tell you if this is realistic for a warbird. But then again, there exactly aren't tons of people who've flown the real thing, so it feels like it probably should, is my best description. And what does it feel like? An insane racing machine that got camera strapped to it. It's kind of what it feels like. Okay. Where are we? Oh, give it some more juice here. We've still got plenty in the engines there. I was underusing them. Only doing 250 knots. Huh. Only. I will say the ratio of engine noise to wind noise is quite different in this, perhaps. I think that is AUKUS over there for us, so we're going to start turning and descend. There we go. So we don't need to go too crazy with feathering those props again, but we should be able to drop down here and get ourselves set up for our approach. I think it's down there, if my memory serves. And we should be able to drop into here. Coming through 7,500 right now. me just check if I'm crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I'm correct. I didn't imagine it. I recognize the area somewhat, the San Juan Islands. Okay. Bring that power back to just above idle. I don't want to basically engage the reverses. Now on my Honeycomb Bravo, I have the detent. If I go past the detent, they'll go into that beta range. But I want to keep it just above that, just so we still have some... She does want to have some power applied to keep the nose up. I find she loses a lot of pitch authority when you go down on the throttle too much, so something to be aware of on approach. You want to kind of fly in with some throttle on there. Now, it has got a high-speed aerofoil on the wing. Now, what does that mean in terms of landing tendencies? Well, as only 2 prototypes really flew, there isn't exactly a lot of pilot information on how to fly these. But I will give you my insight from flying the A26 Invader in the FSX days. Please, someone make an A26 for MSFS. Please, I will love you forever. But from flying the Invader in FSX for several thousand hours, that aircraft flies on a high-speed aerofoil as well. And that has the big Pratt & Whitney 2800s in there. So 2,000 ish horsepower aside. Now, the Invader has a high-speed aerofoil, meaning that you need to fly that wing down to the ground. Okay? You need to basically make sure you are flying it down to the runway, not landing normally. What that means is, to land, you basically bring it down and fly it onto the runway in a 3-pointer. You don't flare. If you flare, you've got a good chance of stalling that wing. Now we're going to put it into beta here, because I need to get down quickly. What you'll do is fly it straight onto the runway. What you do to arrest your descent, rather than flaring, is you will... Oh, hello. Oh, hi. Hi. I just how to use this thing. Come on. Get out. Pull out. Pull out, please. Whew. Okay, don't leave it in beta for that long. Dear cheesecake. That was a squeaky bum moment. Okay, there's our airport. A little bit of power. Down enough speed for gear to come down. Okay, that happened. Don't leave it in beta for too long, otherwise it'll put itself into a spin. Oh, that was squeaky. Wow, don't want to do that again. Let's keep some power in here. Speed's dropping nicely, so we'll go to 2 knots to the flaps. But yes, the Invader, you want to fly it onto the runway, and to arrest your descent, rather than flaring, you give it a blip of the throttle. That will kind of drop your descent rate down, and you'll land perfectly fine. So it's a very different landing technique to a lot of aircraft. You want to basically flare there when you come down and touch. You want to bring that nose up. You don't with this aircraft. Or I presume one wouldn't with this aircraft, because you don't with similar. And the speed this thing flies at, and its tricycle configuration, I would believe that is accurate to how it should behave. So we'll go for another notch of flaps here, and we'll line ourselves... Oh, hello. Pitch getting quite sensitive there as we're low speed with a lot of flapping. Very pitch sensitive, so something to be careful about. I'd flown this once and did a quick circuit before recording this, so I didn't notice that tendency, and I certainly didn't notice its behaviour where I got too long in the beta range of the propellers. Or reverse, almost. I think I might actually be full reverse at that point. I'd have to test. Okay. Nose is a little bobby. Keep ourselves straight on the runway approach here. Stall speed's looking about 70-ish with full flaps and gear. So we're going to keep... That's pretty low, really, considering. So I'm going to keep ourselves... We're about 110 right now. Or 100, sorry, right now. So I'm going to drop some throttle here. But I want to keep more throttle in, just to keep the aircraft behaving itself. We're descending quite well there. A little bit more power. Hold the nose. Quite a long nose, but good visibility for landing, so not a major problem. And I still have good lineup. A little bit low, but not terrible. Okay, we're looking good. A little off to the right, left, sorry. Just let it drift right there. Okay, speed coming down. You'll notice she descends quite rapidly once you lose that speed. There's the runway. Okay. There we go. And we're in that reverse mode there, which is stopping us very rapidly. Ooh. Okay, full. Yeah, that is full reverse. That's why I basically put it into a spin. I was in full reverse in the air. So that's just reversing now. So yeah, don't do that. Okay, neutralize that out. One engine up. Let's get ourselves turning here. Nice pivot turn. So yes, don't go full reverse in the air. Not the wisest move, which is why I spun. So, at least to understand that. And we can taxi her back in here. This taxi we're looking a little bit on the narrower side for the hues. But I'll tell you what, this is an absolute blast to fly. And with those engines in reverse, she stops in absolutely no time whatsoever. Okay. See, I keep chopping past the detent, not having that be normally for me a throttle point, so... Okay. Pull those out of there. And that, boys and girls, as the camera decides it wants to basically spin itself around because my head tracking's turned off, has been quite the adventure. I really like this. I think he's done a fantastic job. It's certainly unusual, it's distinctive, but it's also got great performance. Unlike a lot of vintage aircraft that are unusual, most of them tend to be quite slow and kooky. This thing is fast AF and very well responsive. I'm a fan. Like I say, I don't actually know what the price will be for this. I believe it's going to be free, like a Scrapyard Monster. However, it might not be. If you want to know how much it costs, or if it is in fact free, check the description, because I've sent him an email to ask, and hopefully he'll get back to me, but I didn't have time to not record this before asking him, so check the description, and you will find out if the price is free, or if the price is money. And otherwise, the reason I'm curious is because he did mention it's hoping to get it onto the marketplace as well, so that's why I'm curious. I will let you know in the description. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and this thing's fun, you should totally try it. Bye!